my brother was incarcerated when I was younger. When I was about 8 years old, he ended up going to prison. And, at the time, I didn't realize, how that would affect me long term in my life and my, trajectory and all of those things. Well, going to visit him all those times in prison, seeing the conditions, of course, right, that you deal with. And then also having other family members besides him. I had a first cousin end up getting life in prison for murder. So about every weekend, I felt like growing up, from the age of 8 to about 13, we're going to visit a family member in prison.
Where did you guys grow up?
So I grew up in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Very humble beginnings. Very, humble being, hey, we're poor, and it was tough. I'm the youngest of 3. And it was definitely a journey because, we didn't have a lot. But the great thing about growing up that way is that you don't know you don't have a lot, right? And so you appreciate things a little differently sometimes than someone that's had a little easier upbringing. And my brothers, again, they were much, much older than me. My oldest brother, who we're talking about here that went to prison, was about 12 years older than me. And my other brother was about 9 years older than me. And so just seeing him, kind of also like a father figure in a way, go to prison was kind of tough. I did have my mother and father in the home, and that was very helpful. But then after he came back home, right, so he goes to prison when I was 8 years old. We go all the prison visits. He comes back home, and he's a different guy. He is not the same. I think I probably will speak for you. It changes you. And changes who you are, but he had a lot of health issues, a lot of things going on with him that he needed help with. My parents, luckily, fortunately for him, a great support system. Mom and dad did everything they could to give him what he needed to be successful, which unfortunately most folks coming home from prison and jail don't get that. And he did, thankfully. But I didn't even know at the time how that would even affect my life, right? So I'm 13 years old. I see the stuff. I see him come out. I see him get back on his feet. But I don't truly grasp, what's really, what my life would end up being and where it would lead me and all of those things.
Yeah, we always focus on the individuals that commit the crimes and are incarcerated themselves, but little do we hear the perspectives of those who are affected directly from those individuals who are found in prison's actions. Mm-hmm. It doesn't just affect that person because no one's ever just alone. It affects brothers, sisters, parents, the victims, if there are victims.
Yes.
So for you as the younger brother, it has a tremendous impact, and a lot of people don't realize those effects. And I know some judges do consider the family and what that dynamic is when they're doing a sentencing. Because it is a huge part, because him getting sentenced could throw you automatically into the same trouble that he got into because that was the path he was on and he's your older brother. Yeah,
exactly. And you don't think about it, but it really affects you, which is another part of what we do and why it's so awesome is we get to ensure the families while the individual is incarcerated. Even if the individual has life, we can still ensure their families and at least give their families some peace of mind on the outside in that regard and try to help alleviate some of that. But yes, you're right. It does affect you greatly.
When did you first find out that your brother was in prison? And were you old enough to comprehend the actions?
Yeah, I can remember. It was a lot that kind of led up to it. He had gotten married, and that particular person was not the greatest of influences in his life. And he ended up breaking into, actually, funny enough, and you guys will laugh at the irony of this later in the podcast here when I tell you my story. But he broke into a car dealership and stole some radios. Well, he had never gotten in trouble before then, right? And so he got probation, but he kept violating the probation over and over and over and over again, right? And so I remember the shock of him initially going to jail and the shock of how my parents reacted to it and wanting to get him out of there, and my dad feeling quite guilty, even though he wasn't obviously the one that did anything. But, when your kid fails and your kid does something, you feel the weight of that. And it really affected my dad a lot. You know, we tried to hurry up and get him out as quickly as we could. We bonded him out, got him probation, and he just kept doing the same things, and eventually ended up catching a 5-year bid. So,
yeah, probation's a dangerous slope. It really is. Like, so many people are affected just by the probation violations, more so in, I would say, the state level than the federal level. But
yes,
it's just so silly what exactly going on. I actually just interviewed a probation officer a couple weeks ago, and a former probation officer, and he just has the system is just designed for failure. In that sense. Funny
enough, my brother ended up maxing out. He could have got out 2 years sooner. He stayed another 2 years so he wouldn't have to go back on probation. So it worked out for him. He's very successful today, doing very well, owns a detail company, doing great.
Do you ever look back and think that, you know, him going to prison set off your purpose in life?
You know, at the time that it happened, right, I didn't know that. But when I went through the journey, right, of my story, I realized that at the end that, yeah, it did. It actually changed my life, and it actually is the reason Parks Insurance Agency is in existence.
What's that feeling like to have someone there one day and then gone the next, and someone that's still alive, they haven't died, but they're just physically not free in your life, especially if you have a close relationship with that person?
Yeah, it was really hard. I really missed my brother a lot. I looked up to him a lot. Growing up and things, because he's so much older than me, and it was really tough because, you know, you really miss the person on the birthdays, their birthday, you know, the holidays, the Mother's Day, the Father's Day, all those things that we have, Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that stuff. You really, that's when you miss them the most, and your heart goes out to them, because what society sees as a convict, you know, as your brother or your sister or your dad or your mom or whomever, and you know that person, and you know their action is not who they are really. And so it's really hard, because while they're inside, they don't have those substances, they don't have those things that will influence them while they're on the outside, and it totally changes a person, right, from who they are to who they were to who they, you know, somebody else, right? And so when they go to prison, a lot of times they end up reverting back to who you always knew. And so it's really hard to watch that person not be able to come and see you, not be able to be free, you know, and you worry about the things that they're going through. You know, as a kid, I didn't really understand how horrible prison really was. I'm actually thankful I didn't, because it probably would have made things worse for me, knowing, you know, what he was going through. So it's tough.
And that's a very interesting perspective, because we see all the time on TV and even in TV shows and movies where a family member will do something horrific and commit some type of crime, and that family standing besides them, because they have those memories of them as not that evil or person that committed those acts. Like, you see the parents of the perpetrator and the siblings and stuff at court and being there to support them. And it kind of gives you that other look on it, regardless of what they did to you.
Yep, absolutely. And it's just, I've been in that seat, and it sucks. It really does. But, you know, it's people don't think about that, right? There's so many more victims in a situation than just the person that became offended by whatever the crime was. Is also the families doing that time with them.
Did you ever get picked on because of his charges and found yourself having to stand up
Actually, it kind of leads into my story, right?
Great.
And so let's get there. So I told you earlier, I grew up in South Carolina, very humble beginnings. We didn't have a lot. Didn't know I didn't have a lot till I started going to school, well, funny enough. And so after he goes to, you know, gets in his trouble and all of that, I'd already been having trouble, you know, kind of leading up to that point, because I was a smaller kid. I got picked on a lot. And in our community, unfortunately, if you don't have the Nikes, you don't have the, you know, the Jordans and all those things, then, you know, you're not cool. And, you know, I didn't have the nice shoes. I had the Walmart brand. I had the, you know, the clothes that were clean, but, you know, they were not the nicest designer clothes, you know, and kids really can be cruel. And I got picked on from, I would say, you know, really hard all the way from when he went to prison all the way up through to the time he actually got out, funny enough. And the reason being is I was small, again, didn't have a lot of money, things like that. And people just really took advantage of me. So when I was younger, for whatever reason, I've always had a really, really big heart. I've always been very caring, always been very long-suffering, kind, give you the shirt off my back kind of a person. I think I kind of get that from my mom and dad. They're great people. But my grandmother raised 13 children by herself after her husband abandoned her. And so she never said a bad word about the guy. So that just goes to show you the kind of people, you know, I come from. Well, so throughout all of that time, all the way up through middle school, I'll fast forward through middle school, my brother is getting out of prison when I go to the 9th grade, okay, in high school. It just so happened that coincided, I grew a foot in the summer. So I ended up at 6'2" going into the 9th grade. I had been picked on the whole time, all of that. I'm telling you this because it all ties into what ends up happening. Well, I go into that 9th grade year, right? But I'm still that same scared kid. I'm 6'2", but I'm still that scared kid that, you know, gets picked on and all those things. Well, one day it all changed. It's like, you know, a couple days into the school year, first couple of days, I'm outside with a bully who is not to be named. But the guy bullied me my whole life, right up to this point. And we're sitting there, we're bouncing a tennis ball, you know, off the wall. We're playing a little game, whatever. He's a big guy also. He's always real big. And it was my turn. You know, I had won whatever we were doing, and it was my turn. And there was a set of woods behind us. And so we were facing a wall of the school, bus lot there, woods over there. So I go, and he's like, "You want this ball?" I'm like, "Yeah, you know, it's my turn." And he turns around, throws it in the woods, and says, "Go fetch it, boy." So for the first time in my life, when he said the oi and the boy, I was already swinging, okay? I hit him right in the mouth. He falls, he bleeds on the concrete, gets up, runs to the principal and you know, tells on me or whatever, right? And so, of course, I get in trouble, but I've never felt a feeling that good in my entire life because this is years of being bullied and picked on and all those things. And so I made a proclamation to myself, and this was really important in how and who I would end up becoming, because that day I made a proclamation to myself. I went home, all right, I looked in the mirror, and I said to myself, "Aaron, don't ever forget who you are. You're that kind, that good guy, that guy that's going to give you the shirt off of his back. Don't ever forget that. But you're not going to take any more shit. Period, point blank." Make that promise to myself, right? Well, that promise came with some consequences that year. I went on to get into 13 more altercations that year. And it was a rough year because all these kids were used to picking on me. And so they just had to find out the hard way. Well, you fast forward to the end of that year, we end up moving. I mean, by the grace of God, we end up moving, okay? We move into the other high school district. It just so happens, another high school. I'm like, okay, well, it's a fresh start, right? Nobody really knows me because you know how school is. You grow up with the same kids and all of that. So nobody really knows me on this side of town. They went to a different elementary school. They went to a different middle school. They don't know me. So I got a chance to reinvent myself, right? Of course, my parents are very disappointed in me, thinking that I'm taking the same path that my brother took, right? Now, my brother never really fought in school and things like that, but you know, they were thinking, okay, well, you know, he's fighting, he's, you know, doing all these things. So we go to register, all right, in the summertime. It's probably about a week before school. We go to register at the new high school. My mom takes me up there. I'm walking through the hallway, right? This kind of shorter white guy walks by, older white guy with a belly, and he yells. Walk by, "Hey, who are you?" I'm like, you know, I'm just like, oh my God, like, what is this guy yelling at me, right? Like, who is this guy? I said, well, I'm Aaron. You know, I'm kind of sheepish. I'm Aaron. Like, What is it? What did I do, right? And he's like, you go to school here? Like, yes, sir, I'm registering now. He said, why you ain't playing football? I said, well, I don't really want to play, right? Now, this guy's yelling at me. My mom is standing here, right? He switches cadences, like, automatically. Goes to my mom, hey, Mrs. Parks, how are you? Can we speak for a moment over here? And I'm like, what am I, chopped liver over here? Like, what is going on? So he goes, takes my mom. I can tell my mom is getting a little emotional. So I already know she's telling all my business. She's telling him, you know, this guy, you know, this kid is fighting and all these other things, right? So after they have their conversation, he walks by me and says, I'll see you later. And I'm thinking to myself, no, you won't, right? We register to school. We get in the car. We go. And I'm thinking we're going home, right? And we passed the road to go home. I'm like, Mom, where are we going? She said, we're going to the doctor. The doctor? I'm not sick. Like, what, are you sick? Like, what's going on here? No, we're going to get you a physical. I said, a physical? For what? Oh, you're playing football. That's what you're going to do. You're going to play football. And I'm like, no. Now, meanwhile, okay, in the 7th and 8th grade, I played football, and I was terrible. I got the shit kicked out of me. When I was in the 7th and 8th grade, I was terrible at it. I was scared of contact. I don't know what idea I had in my head to play football at that time, but that's what I wanted to do. And I knew I didn't want to do it again, okay? And so my mom makes me go to get the physical, takes me back to the high school, and drops me off at the football field, okay? And they fit me for the equipment, and next thing I know, I'm down on the field. It's freaking 110 degrees probably outside in South Carolina in the summer. It's hot. I don't want to be there, and all of a sudden, I go from being 6'2" to 5'1" all over again. So I am that scared kid, right? I'm just like, please don't put me in. Please don't put me in, right? First thing, first team drill. Hey, get in there. I'm like, oh God, you know, I don't want to be here, whatever. I line up. I'm playing defensive line. So for those y'all football fans, y'all will know I'm playing defensive end, okay? So I put my hand in the dirt to play defensive end, and the offensive tackle is looking at me like, yeah, this is barbecue chicken right here. We're gonna make an example out of this kid. First thing, he drills me like right in the chest, knocks me over, and stands over the top of me and spits in my face. That was the moment. That was the moment that changed literally everything in my life at that time. And I said, no, that's not gonna happen. So I get up. Coach is like, I can't believe this guy's huge, but he sucks. Let's get him out of here. He's like, get out of the drill, Parks. And I'm like, no. And he's like, Parks, get out of the drill. No. I'm the coach. I told you to get your ass out of the drill. And I said, I want him. He said, okay, run it again. Simple enough. Football fans, again, you'll appreciate this. It was a halfback dive, okay? So the running back's running the ball right up the middle, right? I come off the ball so hard. I was so strong, guys. Like, you got to understand, I had country boy strength. I grew up, my dad, we worked in the yard, we hauled concrete, we laid tile, we farmed, we did everything. So I had big boy muscles, okay? And so I picked this kid up off the ground, his cleats are dangling, and I throw him into the running back for the tackle. And the whole place went nuts, okay? The coaches went nuts. Like, we found the guy, he is the man. Where has that been? That's unbelievable. I stand back over top of the kid, right? The same kid. And I spit in his face. And I let him know that if he ever did that again, I would literally kill him. And I meant it. I meant what I said, you know? And so that changed everything. So here it is, right? I go from being picked on to being crapped on, horrible at a sport, not popular, nobody likes me, whatever, to this new school. Now I'm the football star. I'm the captain on the football team alongside the quarterback. I'm doing my thing. Major program in South Carolina. I am on my way. And then this other dream started to develop, right? So now nobody's picking at me anymore. I'm going to class. I have friends. I have all the things. So this other thing developed inside of me. I wanted to then provide the lifestyle for my mom, dad, my future wife, my future children that I never had. I wanted financial freedom for them. And I saw one way in front of me to get that done, and that was the National Football League. And many players from the high school I had played at had already gone to the National Football League. Many players at that high school have continued to go to the National Football League to this day. And so I felt very, very strongly that I could be one of those guys because I was not just good, I was great. And so I felt really, really good, right? So I end up going to Wingate University. That's where I went to college at. And I ended up playing there. And after 3 years, I ended up declaring for the NFL draft. Okay. And so at that time, I knew that coming from a smaller school, that my draft stock wasn't going to be very good. But again, football fans will appreciate this. I was 265 pounds and I was running a legit 4.38 40. That is really fast. For those of you who don't know it, that's really fast. And so, and I was jumping over 40 inches or 40-inch vertical, like 42 inches, bench pressing 225, 29 times. I knew all I had to do was get to the combine. So they have regional combines to win a bid to go to the national combine in Indianapolis. There's a regional combine in Atlanta, Georgia, okay? I got invited to that. I knew that if I ran anywhere near where I normally run or perform at anywhere near the level, that I would get the bid to the national combine that was going to then catapult me into a training camp invite, which would then catapult me in the opportunity to make a football team, right? So it's all in front of me. I know I've got it. I know I got the measurables. I know that in my group of defensive ends that I was an incredible athlete. And so everything changed once again. So I trained. I trained for 9 months for this, okay? Leave school, I focus on training. Train for 9 months. The week before the combine, 1 week, it was my last tune-up training, the last one. After that, it was just gonna be light stretching and light jogging until the day of performance, okay? So I had a day set up for 1040s. So I run 1040s. So I had run 1040s, and for that whatever reason that day, I was not quite good enough to get the 4.3. I kept on running 4.41, 4.42, 4.41 over and over again, right? And in my mind, I'm like, man, I want to run that 4.3. That's what I've been running. That's what I'm used to running. That's what I'm going to run, right? And so my brother is the one that's timing me. And he's like, hey, you got your 10, you need to stop. Oh no, bro, I'm gonna run one more, man. I'm gonna run one more. I gotta get that 4.3, man. Like I can't just leave. It's kind of like the basketball court. We've all been there, right? You don't want to leave on a miss, right? You're shooting around and you're like, I gotta stay here till I make one, right? And so I'm like, yeah, I just wanna run. He's like, Aaron, I don't think you should do it, man. I think you're good. You just need to chill. Like you're good. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna run one more. He said, okay, fine. And so I run that one more. I got 4.36, the fastest time I ever ran. But in the last step, I pulled my hamstring. Grade 2 pull. So for those that have pulled a hamstring, it's like that. So it's not like that, but it's like that. And it's bad. I mean, it's bad. I mean, I'm going to be on the shelf 6 months before it gets right. Damn near grade 3. And so I can't go to the combine. I can't even go to the damn combine. And so I had one more shot to go, but I wasn't able to go then either. And so I just wasn't healthy. And so I didn't get another chance after that. And so I thought to myself, I'll rehab, I'll come back, I'll be fine. I rehabbed, I came back, could not get anyone to call me back. Had an agent and everything, couldn't get another opportunity. And at that time, Ian, I had no idea. I'm like, what is wrong here? because I am a highly spiritual person. I believe in God. I believe in doing the right stuff, doing the right things, doing right by people. I did the thing Hulk Hogan did, said my prayers, eat my vitamins. I did all that stuff, and it just was not happening. And I could not figure out, what did I do? I remember praying to God and saying, what did I do? Like, why are you not? I worked. I did all the things. Like, why are you not giving me this, right? And I remember thinking the most painful part of it, Ian, is that I had to let go of that dream, right? In my mind at the time, all I could do was play football. I couldn't do it any other way. Because remember, I come from a family that nobody owned businesses. Nobody did those things, right? And so there was no way, I was going to be able to do this. So letting go of that was the hardest thing. I didn't want to let go of it to the point to where I got evicted from my home and had nowhere to go.
This was after college? You got
This is
your own
after
place?
college.
Okay.
Got my place, living off student loans like an idiot. Stupid. Living off student loans. Like, oh, I'll pay them back when I get to the league, kind of thing. Money runs out. Lose everything. And I mean everything. I'm talking freezing in the house, no electricity, no hot water. I mean, just in squalor, okay? And so I ended up getting a job at a car dealership. Funny enough, right?
Full circle.
Full circle, right? Now that's kind of funny. It is. So I ended up getting a job at a car dealership.
Is it the same one?
No, it's not the same one.
That would have been great.
That would have been something there.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting a job at this car dealership, right? And I ended up going and applying. I had to apply a bunch of times. It was crazy, but they ended up finally feeling sorry for me and giving me a job, right? And so I get a job. I have nothing, Ian. I mean, nothing. I'm going there. I'm freezing my butt off. I don't have anything. But I did do enough eventually to get a roof over our head, all of those things, all of that, right? So I go, got a roof over my head, but that's about all I got is a roof. I mean, most days I'm not able to eat, and I'm just scraping and scrounging by. And I will tell you, in the midst of all of this, my manager felt sorry for me and gave me $20 one time, and I'll never forget it. Went to Cookout, man. And I'm telling you, that was the best damn burger to this day I've ever had in my life.
I've been to Cookout, and my ex-girlfriend used to go to school in, where's that, Lacrosse? Limestone.
Yes.
So Cookout's right over there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
man, I went to the
crazy.
Cookout, man. I got a small drink, right? Ate inside. This particular Cookout had an inside in it. And it got me a little burger and fries. And man, I'd use that $20 and I ate for like 5 days. It was amazing.
But those moments are like when you are successful, like you think about, like the other day I was driving, I was like, I remember when I couldn't even put gas in my car. Like I would ride it till empty.
Yeah.
Now I fill it when it gets to like half a tank, and you literally have to struggle. If you want to become like an entrepreneur or any success in life, you got to experience those failing moments. And it's so powerful how the things that really aren't meant for you, like I'd put the blood, sweat, and tears into my old club and business and stuff, and I was ready to die for that,
Yep.
But it wasn't meant for me. That wasn't my purpose.
Wasn't your path, man.
Yeah, it wasn't the
you
path.
don't realize what's going on. But the funny part is, so I go through all of that, right? And I'm noticing that the guys at the dealership, you go to the dealership, you sell cars, all of that, and the guys at the dealership, certain ones are dressed nicer, right? And I'm always, so like you do a deal, you take it to this guy that's got a nice shirt and a tie on, and those guys are always going out to eat. They always got a nice car. They always got all this stuff, and I'm like, man, I want that. The finance managers, they do the loans, they do all the stuff, but they make the money in the dealership, and I'm like, wow.
Because they get the good salary too.
Yes.
Yeah, and they get a piece, I think, of the loan, right?
They do.
Yeah.
They get a piece of that. They get a company car. All of these things, man. All the things. And I'm like, man. And I'm sitting there most days not eating, watching them, go to get lunch wherever. Oh, where are we going to eat lunch at today? And, you can imagine me working and smelling that food and seeing it. It's really crazy. And so they're going out, they're going to lunch, doing all that stuff. And so I go to my manager and I'm like, hey, man, I want to do that. And he says, oh, you too stupid to do that. All you can do is sell cars. You just need to focus on that. And I'm like, why am I too stupid? I mean, I wanted to, you know, I could do this, you know? And so in my own mind, right, that will. So if I have a gift, okay, that God gave me, I ain't the smartest. You know, I'm a big guy, but I ain't the biggest. I ain't the strongest. I'm not any of those things. I ain't the fastest, but I am the person that's got the most will that you've ever met. I have willpower like beyond willpower. And so for the first time since football, when he said I was too stupid, will kicked in. I said, oh no, I'm not. I'm going to show you what I am, right? And so little did I know, Ian, that would end up taking me on a 6-year journey, right? It took me 6 years to finally break the door down. And when I say I broke the door down, my friend, we ain't got time to go through it, but I broke the door down. It was a lot that I went through to get to that point. And so I finally got to finance, right? Finally made it. Fast forward, right? And so I'm sitting there and I've made it. And my boss walks in the door who didn't like me. The owner of the dealership forced me into that position up underneath this guy that didn't care for me. And there's a whole software system you got to run. This manual's about that thick. He drops the manual on the desk and says, hey, I'm not teaching you anything. If you make a mistake, you're fired. Here's the manual. Good luck. You got a week. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? You know, like, oh my goodness. It's like, well, I guess I better figure it out. So I ended up, so the dealership closes, right? And then at night, the janitorial staff comes in, okay? And I hope we're past the statute of limitations here. Nobody tell anybody about this. But anyway, the janitors come in at night, right? And the building is locked. And they didn't speak English, okay? They were all Spanish. And there was no translator app. There's no such thing as translator app. So I had to figure out how to communicate with these guys. And so I got a friend, right, that knew Spanish. And we went up to the dealership, right? Get there. Hey, you know, pay you some money, let me in, you know, all of these things. And so they let me in. And so for that week, I stayed there till 3 a.m. working, practicing, putting fake deals in, learning all the things I needed to learn, right? And then I would go home, shower, and come back. So I just kept, so from 9 to 3, I was at the dealership learning.
That's what it takes.
That's what it takes, right?
Yeah.
And so I end up for 3 consecutive years, right? So they had no idea how I learned all of this stuff. But for 3 consecutive years, I was actually the #1 ranked finance manager in the entire country. How do you get that ranking? And it was this particular manufacturer, it was Honda. How do you get this ranking? It's all based upon, so when somebody comes in for a loan, you're selling them warranties, you're selling them gap insurance, you're selling them all the products, right? And you're sitting there and the warranty penetration is how you're judged. I was somewhere in the 80 to 90% range every month. My closest competitor was about 40 to 45%. And so I won the trip after trip to Las Vegas because of my greatness in this particular program. And so I've made it, right? I've done the thing. I have children at this point. I've done all the things, but I still felt empty.
You didn't have purpose yet.
Didn't have purpose.
You were making money, and sometimes the money doesn't equal purpose.
Making $200 grand a year, man. Now, one thing I didn't have that I always wanted was I wanted to be there for my kids. I wanted to be there for you know, their games and all of that. I did not have that because anybody that's been in the car business, which a lot of your listeners probably have been or still is in the car business, it's hours. It's a lot of hours. They don't care. You're a number. You know, you're going to sit in that chair and you're going to produce, or if you're going to be on sell cars, you're going to sit on that lot and you're going to sell cars, and that's all you're going to do, right? And so, but I did have, you know, the money, did good, all of that, all those things. And so I felt empty. And you fast forward to 2019, felt very empty. And I felt like, man, I'm not doing what I set out to do initially. So when I went to college initially, I majored in business and religion.
Religion? I've never heard this before.
Okay? I was going to be a pastor. That's what I was going to do. That's what my mindset was going to be, right? And so when I ended up getting married in college, and then I decided to, go chase my dreams to be in the National Football League, I just went away from that, right? But that same kid, the same kid that made that promise to himself, the same kid that was bullied and picked on, I still had that big heart, but I wasn't doing anything with it. And so first I said, okay, I want to do life insurance, right? So I want to make a difference that way because people need life insurance. So many people die without it, all these things, right? So I sit down with a client after I started Parks Insurance Agency as a life insurance agency first. And I sit down with this particular client of mine. His name is Donald. Donald is like, hey man, I don't have the best credit. Can you help me? Yeah, sure. Helped him get a loan, got all of these things, all that. We became friends. He's like, man, I need life insurance. I know you mentioned you do life insurance. I said, sure. So I did life insurance. He said, hey man, I need health insurance. And I said, I don't do that. I'm licensed in it, but I don't do it. And he's like, nah, Aaron, I need health insurance. And I'm like, man, it's kind of like one of those things like where you say, yeah, I'll call you, but we all know you ain't calling. And I'm like, okay, sure, I'll do it, whatever. I'm just trying to get the guy out of my hair. Ian, this guy called me 6 weeks straight. And I'm not kidding you. I'm talking about daily, every day. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, why is this guy calling me? I'm thinking, what's going on with this guy? Does he like me or something? Like, what's up? Like, why is he calling me? And so I'll never forget it. It was a Friday and I'm sitting in my office and I'm looking at ESPN like I typically do, right? At the time at the car dealership, that's what I did. When we didn't have time, do nothing, I'm watching sports, right? He calls me. I'm like, hey man, I'm busy. Okay, no problem. And then I hear that sound. I hang up. I hear the sound, the knock at the door. Look up. There he is, right? I'm like, are you serious? You really come up here, really? So he sits down. There's a chair right there. He sits down. He says, hey, man, no worries. I'm going to sit here till you call Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'm like, man, what is your deal? He said, Aaron, I need you to do what you said you were going to do, and I need you to call Blue Cross Blue Shield and help me. That's what I need you to do. I said, okay, man, fine. So finally I do. And the Monday after Thanksgiving, all right, I meet Blue Cross Blue Shield representative. I'm sure she doesn't mind me saying her name, Missy Ferguson Peoples, Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina. We meet at a Camden Starbucks, right? And in that day, my life would change, and so far, hundreds of thousands of lives have changed. Soon to be millions of lives will change because of this meeting. We sit down. She's going over all the programs, right? And I'm not like real excited about any of them because they're expensive, right? The average insurance policy is $1,000 if it's a month, if it's a good insurance plan. If it's, $500 for a crappy one. It's about what it is, right? And she's telling me about all these great commissions. You can get $300 if you sell a private plan. You can get $500 if you sell this type of plan. And I'm thinking to myself, Donald just had me waste time because this is not going to work for him, right? And we get ready to leave, and she said, hey, there is one other program I forgot to tell you about. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, how much more time am I going to spend with this lady talking about this stuff, right? And she's like, you probably won't want to do it, but people can get free health insurance on this plan. It only pays $20 a month, though, so I don't know if you really want to do that. I'm like, what? Wait a minute. Stop. Free health insurance? Like, what do you mean free health insurance? She said, oh, yeah, free health insurance. Oh, and by the way, people that are incarcerated coming out of jail and prison, they get it for free. No questions asked. So 85% of all Americans get it for free anyway. But the people that are just involved get it for free, period, coming out. And I said, nobody's doing this? She said, no. So the way it really works in a nutshell is our federal government pays the monthly premium for you to have health insurance. Every American is eligible to participate in the program and get some kind of assistance. It's just that most Americans don't know how to access the subsidy. That's all it is.
But is this real health insurance?
Yes.
Like, so when I started working for myself, I feel like I got conned and baited when I applied for these online things. Then I found out I'm in some church sharing insurance company. I'm like, I don't want this. So now I pay $300 for Blue Cross Blue Shield, but it's a high deductible.
Yeah.
Then I got my vision, and then I got my dental. So it's about $360 a month.
Right.
For me.
I can tell you, Ian, after this podcast, my friend, you won't have to pay that any longer.
But it's legitimate. So say, all right, so let me ask you this. I get hurt. I get on this insurance, or I need to go to an urgent care. Is it covering that urgent care?
Yes.
Prescriptions, if I need prescriptions.
Mental health, substance abuse, prescriptions, all of that. So the Blue Cross Blue Shield that you got now,
it's a base
it's the same
program.
thing.
Okay.
It's the same exact plan. I can get you the same plan.
But you could get the upgraded version of it.
Yes.
For free.
The only difference is that the federal government I can access the subsidy that's rightfully yours, that you're supposed to get, that you don't know how to get to because you're not an insurance agent and you don't do this every single day. I can get it for you and you don't have to worry about it. Now, so this is the way that I before I get back to the story, this is the way I explain it, right? A pipe breaks in your house. You can go on YouTube right now and figure out how to fix it, right? You can go to Lowe's. Okay, I see the guy on YouTube. Okay, I need to do this. I need to put this screw here, and I need to put this on there and patch it and whatever, right? You could do that. But what if I told you, hey, Ian, instead of you doing that, what if I can get you the best plumber that's ever been? This guy has fixed more pipes than anybody in the whole entire United States of America. And you don't have to pay nothing for it. What you doing? You going to the hardware store do it yourself? Or you gonna let the guy that knows what the hell he's doing do it?
You'll let the guy that knows who's doing it.
We've helped over 100,000 families.
And there's no income limit. So you could be making $1 million and you could be making
And you can
$5.
still participate in the program, yes.
Wow.
So it's on a sliding scale, obviously. If you're making a bunch of money, you can afford more of a premium. But if you're not, right, you can't afford it, it's gonna shrink that premium down to nothing.
So you are paying something for the premium.
Depending on your situation. So up to $35,000 a year per person. Notice I said per person. So if you got a household of 2 people making 70, you're still free. Okay? $35,000, okay, in a household yearly, roughly. Varies a little bit depending on where you live, right? You can get a free health insurance plan.
Now, say someone like me is on their health insurance right now. Can I drop mine and sign up with you today?
Absolutely.
And when does yours take effect? Do I have to wait till the
first of the following month?
First of the following month.
So you could stay covered on yours, okay? Now, there is a lot of SCP, special enrollment period, things that trigger. We can get into the semantics of that, but we could make sure you qualify for one of those. Almost every American does qualify for SCP. It's probably like 5 or 6% of America that doesn't. So more than likely, we're going to be able to switch you off midstream.
But dental and vision, I still pay separately.
Yes, but we have that. So we have dental and vision, life, everything. And our dental and vision, life, all of that stuff is at a much discounted rate.
Okay, interesting. Okay? And now where can people apply to get in touch with you for this?
www.parksinsured.com. Go on and click apply now. Select the products that you want. Boom. Simple as that.
That was a great ad read.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so back to your story.
So back to the story, right? So she sits there. She's telling me this, and I go blank, Ian. It all came together. Now I understand why. Now I get it. Now I understand why I needed to see my brother have the struggles. Now I understand why my dream of the NFL didn't happen. Now I understand why I need to learn finance and insurance in the car industry, because insurance is in there, right? And so it all came together in a moment And I knew then I would have to do something very uncomfortable. That I would have to go quit my job.
Hardest decision you could ever make.
Because I knew then. And God sent Donald to me. Say, hey, knucklehead, stupid. Hey, listen, I'm trying to show you something. Come here. Come do this. And so I left that Starbucks. And I'm pretty sure Missy thought I was crazy, right? And I said to her, I said, you've just changed my life. And because of you, the lives of millions of people will be changed. I know she thought I was nuts. But she smiled, she said, okay, all right. I said, you don't understand, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to be the top agency in America. She's like, okay. And she's just like, this guy's freaking nuts. I quit my job. They thought I was kidding. They thought I had lost my mind. I remember calling my mom afterwards and my dad. And I said, hey guys, I quit. To do what? I said, well, I'm gonna sell these insurance plans for $20. They're free. Aaron, do you hear yourself? You have bills, you have a mortgage, you have this, you have that. And I said, I'll never forget it. I said, if I go down, I'm gonna go down helping people. If I lose everything I got, I'm going to go down helping someone, because this is why I was born October 31st, 1986. Why I was born was for this purpose and this purpose alone. And I owe it to God to go out and give it everything I got. And if I fail, so be it. So be it. It's just stuff. This is bigger than that. And I didn't know. I didn't know what would happen, right? And I started helping the people. I started signing people up. And I started getting letters and emails and phone calls. Hey, man, you saved my life. Hey, man, I got this surgery that I needed really badly. Hey, man, I was able to get in drug abuse treatment and turn my life around. Hey, man, hey, man, hey, man. And I went to all of the DOCs that I could, DOCs being Department of Corrections. Everybody knows what that is on this podcast for sure, to make sure that Parks Insurance Agency was in every possible DOC that it could be in. I'm currently partnered with Texas Department of Corrections. I'm very proud of that. South Carolina Department of Corrections, as well as South Dakota Department of Corrections, and working on many, many more partnerships. And what we do is we offer this program to all of those individuals coming home and to their families, right? And so it changed my life. And I look up now, right? It's been 5 years. I look up and we've helped over 100,000 families. We have affected change in this country. We are the only agency licensed in all 54 U.S. territories. So it doesn't matter where you are, we can help you. We can help your family. And not only can we help you with health insurance, we can help you with all these other things, right? And so you don't really realize the impact of that until you actually get the letters, you actually get the emails, you actually get all of those things. And I'll tell you, before I close out, I'll tell you a sad story. And the reason why I'm gonna tell you this sad story is because maybe somebody listening to this podcast can help us, right? Get to where we need to go. I've been working with a certain Department of Correction. I'm not gonna call their name because I'm not gonna do that. I don't wanna piss anybody off, even though they probably deserve it. And this particular Department of Correction has been very resistant to me, okay? They have been much more reliant on Medicaid. And what they don't realize is that we're here to work in lockstep with Medicaid, not to eliminate Medicaid, right? We want individuals who are disabled, who cannot work, all of those things to be on Medicaid. But we want these individuals that are coming home from incarceration, that are trying to get back on their feet, that are trying to get a job, to actually have real health insurance, because if you don't, as soon as they get a job, in most cases, they're losing their Medicaid, right? And so now you're asking a guy who has, let's say they have Crohn's disease, right? That's not a disability per se, but it's a chronic condition, right? So now you're going to say, you get out on parole, like most of them do, right? Probation. And the probation officer says, you got to go get a job. As soon as he gets his job, he loses his Medicaid. So now he has no treatment for his Crohn's disease, and on his job, the insurance is $600 a month, and he only makes $500 a week. So how the hell is he supposed to survive? Oh, and by the way, he has child support. So how are we supposed to do that? So why do we keep putting our people that are getting out of jail and incarceration? They've already had enough trouble as it is. You're trying to get back on your feet. Why would you put them in an untenable position? So our application is a dual application. So for those individuals who have a disability and belong on Medicaid, our application will allow them to be on Medicaid. For those individuals who are trying to get on their feet and don't have a disability, trying to get a job, all those things, our application gives them major medical so that they can get themselves cleaned up, whether it be drug treatment, whether it be medicines, whether it be chronic conditions like Crohn's or any of those things, Hep C, all of those things that you deal with heavily in the prison population or the jail population, we can help them with that. And we can also assist their children that are on child support. We can provide the health insurance for their spouses, their whole families, right? And so this particular correctional system is really heavily reliant on Medicaid. It's bureaucracy, of course, right? It's optics, it's Medicaid expansion, it's all those things. And so with that being said, I have been begging this particular institutional system for the last 5 years to partner with us to allow us to help these individuals. We charge no money to the Department of Corrections. In fact, we have offered assistance. I've offered out of my own pocket, people that work for Parks Insurance, if their workers can't do it in the correctional facilities, I've offered workers to go into the facilities for them and do the work. So there's no excuse. There's none of that, right? And so the reason I'm here today with you, Ian, is because, all right, it gets tiring traveling all over the country, because I do. I see the hotel rooms more than I see my own bed, okay? It is crazy for me, right? And so to give you an idea, I'm at home 3 days in July, if that gives you an idea of how crazy it is. Now, some of that travels with the children and all of that, but all in all, it's a lot to do with work. So I say all that to say, the reason I'm sitting here with you is I had a traumatic event happen at the beginning of 2023, okay? And so I had gotten frustrated with the correctional systems, okay? And I had really almost given up at this point, right? And so, if they don't get it by now, I don't know what to tell you. I'll do what I can, but I'm tired of traveling. I'm tired of doing all this stuff. I get this call, and I was expecting a call from this particular zip code or from this particular area code that called me. And so I answered it, which I normally don't if I don't know the number, but I answered it, and it was this lady. And she says, hey, is this Parks Insurance? I said, yes, it is. And she said, I have some questions about the GIFT program, giving insurance freely for transition, for those of you who don't know. And I said, sure. What's your questions? She starts asking me all these questions like you did. Is this major medical? Is this Blue Cross? Or is this Cigna? Or is this Aetna? Or what is this, right? What does it cover? Does it cover urgent care? Does it cover ER visits? All these things. And we get to the end of the conversation, and the phone goes silent. And next thing I know, I hear this lady sobbing. And I'm like, did I say something? To get this lady to sob? And this man comes on the phone. He said, hey, man, I'm sorry. And I said, what, did I say something wrong or did I offend her? He said, no, we lost our son 2 days ago. I said, oh, man, I'm sorry, to hear that you lost your son. And he says, yeah, and he got out of this particular correctional system that I told you about. And some of the facilities are using parks and some of them are not. So some of the facilities, the wardens are going rogue and doing it anyway. And the other facilities are waiting for the answer from on high, right? And he got out of one of those facilities that we weren't in. He got out, his stomach hurt. He went to the emergency room. So those of you on this podcast, listening to this podcast, can appreciate this because I know you've gone through it. He went to the emergency room. He didn't have insurance. They would not give this man an MRI. They would not give him an x-ray. They sent him home to follow up with his primary care physician. and he woke up dead the next morning because he bled to death internally because they wouldn't give him a damn MRI because he didn't have health insurance.
Wow.
And I went from being 6'2" to about 10 inches tall because I knew that I could have saved him. She didn't have to cry. There didn't have to be any of that. I could have saved that guy, and I didn't do it, and it hurts. And that's why I do what I do, because I don't want any more stories like that. How many people have to die before they get it? And it's emotional for me because I care. I care about the people that are coming home, because you guys, nobody gives a shit about you. They just throw you away like you don't exist. And it's not right. And somebody has to fight. Somebody. You can't go to the governor's office when you just got out of jail. You can't.
You can't even go there if you're not even in jail.
You can't. You don't.
These people don't talk to you.
You don't have the audience.
Yeah.
You don't have the opportunity. I can, and I will fight until I die to make sure every single person has the opportunity. I don't care if you sign up. I don't need you to sign up. I just need you to know that you got a chance. That kid needed a chance. If somebody would have gave him a chance, he would have been covered. And he would have been here today. And now he's dead because we want to rely on Medicaid. And it's just so frustrating. And at that moment, I made a commitment to myself. I had another mirror moment. I made a commitment to myself to do everything I could, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's not fun, even when I don't feel like going to a hotel room, right? That I would fight for you guys, that I would fight for those people who are forgotten about and crapped on in the society, that I would go out and make a difference, because I believe in my heart that that's my mission. And that's why I live, that's why I breathe. And I will go to my grave fighting for the people that need it the most.
Do you think that if your brother was never incarcerated, when that woman brought up the inmate factor to you about health insurance, that would never have clicked internally?
No, it wouldn't have, because I don't know if he would have made it. I don't know. He had things going on. I don't know. It could have been him. And I just think back to him and to how he's a human. He's not the crime he committed. He's not. He's a human. We all make mistakes. Everybody that's just involved or not. I could have been locked up several times, trust me, for some of the crap I pulled over the years.
Anyone could.
Anybody could in society for some of the crap that we pull. And we sit on a self-righteous soapbox because we happened to get lucky enough not to get caught. It wasn't because we were smart, but it's just because we were lucky enough not to get caught doing whatever the hell it was we were doing.
Exactly.
So I don't look at y'all or anyone that's just involved as inmates. I look at you as people just like me.
Those hospital stories I hate. I hate like the system ones because they're making so much money. Just like an ambulance, people in this country
40 grand.
Yeah, won't hop in an ambulance
10
because they're afraid of it because of the money. I saw Biden just passed or signing into law that hospital bills won't show up on your credit report.
Yep.
Which is great. They should have done that a long time ago, just like they got rid of civil judgments, I think, don't show up on your credit report anymore either.
That's right.
But that's just the amount I see the medical, you don't know how many people I talk to where we're talking about credit and they're like, yeah, I have shit credit because I have a medical bill that popped up from, years ago.
Yeah, and they don't call you.
Yeah,
they don't even call you. And so now, that's our impact. And the last thing I'll leave you with is the jail program. So we now have a jail program. So this is news. This is news to you as well. So when we met initially, I was only talking about prison stuff. I was only talking about releasing prison. We try to work with the jails before then but their release system is not the same as prison. So when you're in prison, you know you got a release date. You know it ahead of time, so you can prepare for it. Well, in jail, you may get released tomorrow, or you might get released next year. You don't know, right? Because it takes so long to adjudicate your charges. Well, now, okay, the government passed a new law in the beginning of January. It was a happy accident how I found out about it, which was nuts. I was sitting there, wow, that's what? That's real? So anyway, what we can do is if you go to jail, if a person goes to jail, okay, we can get them insured while they're awaiting trial. So they can have top-notch quality health care while they're awaiting trial. Some jail systems that we've worked with allow them to go to rehab while they're incarcerated in jail, waiting on charges to adjudicate.
Which will help their sentence if you go to a rehab, because most of the people can't get into the rehab unless it's a court-appointed one.
Yep. And detoxing. So they got Vivitrol shots now inside of the jail system to help with detoxing. And they have Narcan to help with detoxing and all those things, right? Our insurance covers all of that.
Wow.
And so now we're partnering with the county jails and the sheriffs, and we're saving the county and the jail millions of dollars a year, depending on the size of the jail, just in medicine. Just in medicine, because our insurance covers all medicines. Dialysis treatment, cancer, all of these things that a person, Hep C in jail is huge. Ours covers Hep C treatment. Right now, you can't get Hep C treatment in jail if you don't have private insurance. Now we have the solution for you. And so now we're partnering with jails across the country, providing this while they're incarcerated until all charges are adjudicated.
Incredible.
It is a game changer. And the jails are excited about it because it's saving them money. The counties are excited because it's saving them money. But meanwhile, we're doing a hell of a lot of good because the main thing is we're helping those guys and girls that are inside of there that have the substance abuse issues, that have the Hep C, that need endoscopy, but they can't go get a real doctor, or they break their hand in a fight and they can't go get a real doctor. We can do all of those things for them now.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, thank you so much for coming today on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love your energy, love your story, and I'm really excited for the listeners to hear about this program, and I hope they check you out, and because I'm certainly going to be using you.
Yep, absolutely. Come see me.